Hey guys, number one Marmaduke fan here. So one of the first things I have two comic book shops. One specializes in old back issues, and one has new comic books coming in. And I've been going into the comic book shop that specializes in old issues. Pretty much, I buy a copy of Bone every time I go in there. And Jeff Smith is kind of like in this small group of creators that I have so much respect for. I want to collect the floppy comics just to say I own this little piece of comics history. I'm not an expert on like the publication history of this, so I don't know if this was the first publication or maybe like a later edition that Image did. Like, there's a company called Cartoon Books, so I'm wondering if Cartoon Books was the original publisher and then Image like picked it up for their own run. I don't know, but pretty much I'm going to try to collect as many of the floppies as I possibly can. If I get rich, I'll try to find like the number ones that are super expensive, but they're actually pretty affordable considering what a popular series this was. And I also thought it'd be fun maybe to make some brief pithy comments on how these hold up as individual issues. My previous video on Bone, I covered all of Volume 1, and I pretty much argued that this is a guy who, if you pay attention to his work, it's like a crash course in how to do comics. And it's so weird because when I was a little kid, I just sort of like automatically assumed he was some like old guy like Bill Watterson who'd been making comic strips for 50 years or something, right? Based on how fluid his style is. And he was a young guy, just like coming right out of college and making this hit. And even some of the letters evoke that. So first, the covers. Most of the covers for these issues are individual panels from the story itself that are redrawn by Jeff. So that's one kind of like nice bonus of collecting them. He also does some like little extra bonus illustrations and gags for the back. So, if you are a big Bone fan, I'd say, yeah, see if you can dig up these floppies at your local comic book store. Don't go to my local comic book store. I want to buy them first. Anyway, he also has a good feel for like pacing. Like, the thing about Bone is I kind of see Bone as a collective work. The first time I read it was in its sort of like complete graphic novel format. But when you look at it, he is taking into consideration, okay, let's get him caught up. Let's start the story with like a little nice entry point. Let's establish things you may not know about the characters, like the heart. So that's one of the fun things of reading it in floppy format when you're used to reading the graphic novels at the library. The other like really strong attribute of this series is how aware Jeff Smith is of the importance of a page for pacing, where if he wants to set up a gag, he starts the setup of the gag on the first panel of the page, and the payoff of the gag is the last panel of the page, which is one of the reasons why I always thought that he was like, I always like associated him with Bill Watterson in my mind. I thought, is this a newspaper strip? And he actually talks about Thimble Theater in the letters column. Thimble Theater, if you don't know, that was E.C.'s cigar strip before. That's the strip that he made before he introduced Popeye into the strip, and then the whole strip became about Popeye. So he has this newspaper strip background. He has obviously like this Walt Kelly, Bill Watterson pacing sensibility to his comedy, and it's great. So I've already like praised him over the moon and back in my previous video, so I'm not going to focus on that too much. I'm also guessing that these stingers for the next issue are unique to the floppies, and I don't remember seeing these in the paperback edition. So Bonafides is the letters column. I just want to read the letters column because there's a lot of interesting commentary here. Dear Jeff, so who are you? I picked up the first issue of Bone to discover cartoonists seemingly influenced by Walt Disney, Chuck Jones, Walt Kelly, and Jack Kirby. The drawing is solid, the inking is slick. The panels are well designed and composed. The continuity is strong. You clearly know the value of a good pose in telling the story. You do a great job of conveying emotion through the characters' hands. These characterizations are clear and entertaining. The dialogue is witty. So where did you come from? Have I missed your previous work, or is this the first time you've ever done anything for a national audience? You are far too good for me to believe that this is your first attempt at this sort of thing. Somewhere in a reply which I would welcome, or in a forthcoming issue, please fill us in on your past. Are originals for sale? I'm looking forward to future issues. Good luck in the comic book marketplace. Mark Mayerson. Jeff writes, my experience in comics has mostly been as a reader. I did a comic strip for my college newspaper using these same characters back in 1982, but Bone number 1 is my first effort at something like this. For the past 5 years, I've been working in animation at a company I co-founded called Character Builders, Inc. I think that folded, if I remember right, reading some of his other commentary. I won't be selling any of the original artwork for a little while yet. I've got my hands full just trying to learn how to put out a comic book. Dear Jeff, all I can say is, wow, this bone has seemingly come out of nowhere. Do you notice the pattern? Like, people can't believe where this is coming from. This is like a really old school drawing style, like coming out. I don't know when it. I'm showing my ignorance here. I don't know if this is the first edition or not. This is 1996, so I have a feeling that I remember reading in interviews that he got it published in Walt Disney's magazine, but he had to like edit out the cigar. So I don't know what, but it's odd if you're in the late 80s or early 90s and something that feels this old and this good just sort of pops into existence out of nowhere. Everything, I'm presuming, what a great debut. I'm presuming this is your first comic. Everything is so fluid. Page by page, it looks like a veteran's work. A whole lifetime of skill is the style, put to beautiful use. The comic is funny and at times breathtaking. Ted the Bug was hilarious, and the panel where Bone discovers the valley was quite nice. And those troll-like monsters are the stuff of a child's nightmares. Brr. I'm looking forward to seeing much more stuff flow from your imaginative pens and brushes. Congratulations on such a wonderful comic. Dear Mr. Smith, I thought I would drop you a line to congratulate you on a very enjoyable book. I'm not one who reads humorous type books. However, when I saw Bone #1 in my work, so like they had it at his job, like at a grocery store or something. That's so cool. It's so different when because I'm used to like comic book shops being the only place to have these, except maybe like for an Archie comic. So it always blows my mind that you used to be able to get these at a 7-Eleven. I thought that it was worthwhile to pick a copy up. After reading it, I knew this was the type of book to add to my collection. The story is great. I was also very impressed with the artwork. The only drawback has to be that it is in black and white. Any chance of color coming into the picture? Overall, the book is wonderful, and do hope it continues. I know I plan on sticking with it. Job well done, John Hopkins. P.S. Is there any chance of having my copy signed? Jeff writes, I actually like black and white, which you can tell based on how he uses it. He uses it compositionally, constantly. And this is one of the things that bugs me about modern color is they'll like fade out everything, and you'll lose the black and white art. Later there was a color edition, but the color edition is just kind of like a soft, graceful color on top of the black and white where you can still read the black and white line work. And you can just tell his love for black and white just by his drawing style. But anyway, two of my favorite comic strips are the newspaper strips Thimble Theater and Pogo. Pogo's Walt Kelly's comic. I hope I have my Pogo book. I either gave it away or it's buried somewhere, but I'm going to try to find that. Both of which, when found in the wild, are black and white. I'm not ruling out color completely, though. Maybe in some future collection of the books, if we get that far. Spoiler alert, they did. No, I don't think I should sign books through the mail. The Postal Service might lose your copy, or worse, I might lose it. And then they talk about, like, Bone having these www websites, because this is, like, the early days of the internet. I wonder if these are active still. phlab.missouri.edu. Man, it was so weird having the internet come rushing into my life when I was a young man. Interview with Jeff Smith by Jeff Mason. There's so much nerd stuff. I hope someone archived this stuff, or these websites are still up. These guys have done some cool stuff, so check it out and let them know what you think. And he mentions that he forgot to put the copyright info for Mike Allred's character Madman in issue 2. And I haven't been able to find issue 2 yet, or issue 3 is the earliest I've been able to find so far. And then some image ads and the great little ads. So 100%, I'm really happy I'm picking these up. I like the extra illustrations. I like the fan commentary. It's kind of like, I've been thinking a lot about, I've mentioned this, I've been thinking a lot about death of the author and, how important is an artist's biographical data for their work. And the Tolkien professor revisiting that helped me kind of think that, you don't want to like get so obsessed with like the little itty bitty details of the artist's life that you forget to actually enjoy their great work. The reason I'm interested in Jeff Smith is because I loved his work, because I got a very pure experience reading his work. But once you've had that pure experience, there's something nice about learning something about the artist and their process. I think it's a key way of young artists learning to carry that on in a future generation, especially as, like the comics industry starts to go into decline, especially as, people start worrying about, stagnation and are there still opportunities to do this kind of work. Like looking at the past gives you hope for the future that artists can still be making work like this. So fantastic. Pick it up if you get the chance. I will let you, I'll share more of my thoughts on my issues as I build my collection. With that, I'm number one Marmaduke fan. I love you guys, and I'll catch you later. Oh no, I won't get the special YouTube algorithm if I'm not 10 minutes. Oh boy, come on YouTube algorithm. Hooray! Catch you later.